You're watching Good Charlotte live in concert on Hard Drive.
Bingo.
Well, the early days of Good Charlotte were basically us in high school. We started this band in 1996. It was me, Benj, and Paul originally that we met at Paul's house for band practice, and the band was started. And we played in high school, wrote songs, basically. From the day we started trying to get a record deal. Billy came along a couple years later, and Dean came about 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. But we started in high school. We were a garage band.
I remember the first day after band practice, we went to McDonald's.
Yeah.
Me, Joel, and Paul.
And we sat there at the table the first day after band practice, and we were like, we're going to get a record deal, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And
we had never had a band before, so.
But we're like the classic American garage band. We started in a garage in the middle of nowhere in Maryland, and we're in high school, and we wanted to get a record deal, and we didn't really know where we were going, but we knew we wanted to make it and be musicians and have a career doing music. My inspiration was a lot of the 90s, Green Day, Weezer, all sorts of stuff.
Nirvana, obviously.
Nirvana, Rage Against the Machine.
That whole 90s alternative grunge scene was definitely really
awesome.
Rock in the 90s was awesome.
It really was.
And we grew up in that. That was when we were most impressionable, was in high school when we were just starting the band. I loved the Beastie Boys. I loved all the stuff in the 90s that was great. I was a fan of.
I thought the Beastie Boys were just the most unique, most entertaining, didn't care about what anyone thought kind of guys. They were big, I think, heroes for us, and I think I think all of us feel lucky to have been kids in the 90s because we got to see all those bands from Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains.
Even someone like Jeff Buckley, though. I remember getting a Jeff Buckley song on this mixtape compilation thing I got with a magazine, and I was like, who is this guy? Every band that I loved in the 90s I went to, that's all we did when we were in our band, when we started our band.
That's how we became friends with Billy, when we had had the band for a couple years. When I met Billy, I was like, this kid looks like a rock star. We just instantly became friends, and it was just...
We'd sit around by ourselves and talk about it like giddy little school children, about
what it was going to be like when we were on tour.
Awesome
when we get a tour bus, we didn't know how it all worked, but we knew It
was never a question of when or if. It was always just a question of when.
Yeah. And we still sit around and dream.
Yeah, we do. I don't even think we had the skill set to bring our influences in to make that record. We weren't real musicians yet, I don't think. We just started a couple years before that.
Remember we had rented that Mitsubishi Montero Sport?
Yeah,
and none of us had nice cars. None of us had ever.
We were
none of us
so impressed
even drove cars that barely started. And we had this rental car, and we would fight over who got to drive it. And we'd be it was so. I just remember loving that it had a CD player, so we're all just listening to music so loud, and we're in this rental car just loving life.
We just went in like little kids, and the producer said, I'm going to hit record, you guys play those songs, and that's pretty much what happened. And coming to the second record, we figured out how to be a band, how to record, how to work out songs, and really how to to record a record.
So that was kind of the hard thing too, is we put our record out, and all of a sudden everyone's calling us well, they're a punk band, or they're not, or this. And that's when you got
jaded a little bit.
Yeah, well, we're these naive little kids, and all of a sudden we're kind of getting slammed by some people, and then we're like, well, how come this person likes us, and how come this person doesn't? And we were just these little kids, and that was a record of growing up, I think.
I think we realized within 2 weeks that the only people matter are the people in the band. Really quickly you learn that so many people are going to tell you this and that.
But I remember when we put out Motivation Proclamation on the first record, and things weren't going good, and the label came back and didn't know if they were going to re-sign us, and didn't know if we were going to make another record. And so we went into that record with just kind of a young and hopeless feeling. We were just broke, needed to make it. All our dreams had come true, but they hadn't, and everyone in the world was just negative. And we were just this is nothing like we thought it would be. We'd waited 4 years to get this record deal. We come from nothing. We're excited. We're happy. We toured in a van for 2 years, and we're just psyched to be in a van playing sold-out clubs, being on the Warped Tour. We go to make this record, Young and Hopeless, and we didn't know it was going to be called Young and Hopeless, but we felt young and hopeless. We were broke. The whole world's negative. We felt like no one liked us. We felt like nothing's like what we thought it would be. We thought we were just going to get signed and all our dreams would come true. So then we made this record, and you can kind of hear this, like, it's still us, it's still happy, but there's some angst and there's some kind of desperation in it.
You know, in the process of touring the first record, we spent time in LA, we spent time in New York, and as a band coming from Maryland, we just saw a lot of things that were funny to us, or that we wrote about them. You know, about the other, like, about the rock stars we saw, about celebrities, about
just rich people in general.
People, like, you know, rich people with all this money, and even people that worked at record labels, and people that worked in the industry we were in, and all over, and so we just wrote about it.
Yeah, I just remember going out and seeing all these people that had everything that I wanted, but they didn't seem happy about it, and whether it was like someone, you know, complaining or just generally not as psyched as I was. You know, and I wrote about it. It wasn't really an insult to people. It was like, I was just saying from my perspective, I really wanted it. And at the time, I remember we were making The Young and the Hopeless. We had come off the first record. We toured it for two and a half years or something. And I was completely broke. I was like in debt, like to the band actually. And I was just like, but I was okay. I was just like, you know, really, really hungry to make it.
Yeah, we always say it, like, every record, like, the whole reason that our band, you know, is what it is because our fans are so diehard. Like,
the real challenge came after the first record was growing up in front of everyone, because that's kind of what we had to do.
We recorded Young and Hopeless, and I don't think any one of us recorded that record and thought, like, oh, this is it. You know,
Yeah,
as
we
soon as
thought
the
we were
record
gonna
was
do
done, we're
another
like,
200,000
hey, this record
records.
rules, but we thought the first record ruled at the time, you know? So I remember we made the record, and then we went on a Warped Tour that summer. We would get up on stage, and there was just like an army of kids there to see us, and we just kept looking at each other like, something's happening. I don't know what it is, but something. And then a couple months later, the record came out. And truthfully, the only reason that record did good is because of the fans we had. We weren't getting magazines giving us critical claim.
It all came
People were
after.
saying, "Oh, this record sucks,"
Yeah.
and these guys don't know what they're doing.
they won't be here another
But
year.
so many kids were buying the record, coming to the shows, calling the radio stations, wearing our T-shirts. It's like 100%. We have to give it to the fans. Is why that record did what it did.
And the magazines and TV and everything didn't for the fans.
We kind of learned about the world. We were kind of in a bubble, because all we had was each other, so we never experienced the negative side to us was people telling us we would never make it. That was it. But then when we got out there, we learned there's like so much more negative in the world other than your fans. It was just seemed like it was just so kind of slap in the face.
But that's also been a fun part of being in a band this long, is seeing how everything has changed.
So different.
And it'll change again, you know. It's only a matter of time, you know, and like, so it's to live through those changes and to survive.
Yeah, we're
we've
lasting.
seen so
It's
many.
all going to be internet driven.
Yeah.
Within
And how
5
many
years,
bands have we seen come and go?
Yeah, all the record stores will be gone, and it will all be on the net.
Yeah.
All
Tower.
digital.
That was history.
Yeah.
One by
Sad.
one,
I think what Benji said is the most key thing to us is there's been so many bands that we've toured with who've had like this huge hit, like maybe a bigger hit than we've ever had on the radio, and then never seen them again.
You never see them again.
And we
like,
think, how are we still here 4 records later? Like, we must be doing
comes
something
back to
right,
the
or
fans.
well, we must have good fans, you know, because somehow we're still here.
We've always had such a close relationship with our fans because our fans love us. They read, you know, what we write. They listen to the lyrics. They really just dissect our songs and ask us what they're about.
Our fans now, they range anywhere from 9 years old to 29 years old. You know, I mean, we have a lot of fans that have been with us since they were in middle school. Now they're in college. You know, and we have fans who are in high school. We have fans who just got out of high
New
school.
fans who are just getting into
New
us on this
fans,
record.
You know,
Even parents of some kids who like us. We had so many parents bring their kids to the shows and be like, we want to come too because we love your band too. So, like you said, the age range goes from really young kids to older adults. It's all over the place.
I think the main thing about our fans is they get into our music and they realize there's so many more songs on the record that are better than the song they heard on the radio. And that's why they get into our music, and that's why they buy all our records, because it's like all the songs on the record are way cooler and deeper than the one they heard on the radio. We're about to make another record, and we're excited about, you know, the growth we've had over the last year just going around the world
We're
playing
putting
songs.
out a new single. What's the new single?
Where Would We Be? Putting out a new single called Where Would We Be. is it's been a great experience for us. You know, the kind of like the beginning of the next chapter. You know, I think it's a start. We're starting somewhere as like adults where we kind of had to grow up in front of everyone over the last 8 years. And
Good Morning Revival is, for me, the beginning of the second chapter, and I really feel like now we're kind of the band that everyone likes. I think it took a few records for people to kind of get what we were doing and kind of get like, oh, like I like these guys. For us now, it's a lot of positivity. Whereas when we came into the role, we kind of found it to be a hard place, and we kind of found it to be like well, how come they don't like us, or how come they're questioning what we're doing?
But there's been a million reasons for us to quit. You know, drummers, drugs, management. You name something that's happened, it's happened to us. You know, name anything that's happened to any band that's happened to us. We don't advertise it because we're not trying to sell a story about our band to make people think we like have it hard. But we've lost members to drugs. We've had all the drama with everything you name, money, managers, this, that. We've gone through it all, and our whole philosophy with the band has been to keep our feet moving and keep playing shows and keep touring and keep pushing forward. And that's what we do.
Because the bottom line is we feel lucky to be here, and we never want to take it for granted.
And to still be